Hi everyone, this is May and I'm really excited to review War of Faith or 追风者, a drama starring Wang Yibo, Ching and Wang Yang. This is a 38 episode drama set in the Republican era in China between 1930 and 1936. So this is a very dangerous time and there's a lot of distrust and danger. So this show revolves around some of these political maneuverings, but with financial markets as its center. So I finished watching the entire series by Sunday, the 7th of April. The drama is being shown on CCTV, ITE.com, ITE app, and YouTube. But you can only watch the entire series if you pay for premium membership. As of today, the 9th of April, when I'm filming this video, I did a quick check and only 6 episodes have been released for free for public viewing. So I paid for a premium membership, which is why I'm able to finish the story now. So in this review, I will try my very best not to reveal any major spoilers. But if you are on social media and if you are a fan of Wang Yibo, you have probably seen most of the major spoilers. So the synopsis of the show is that this is an espionage drama centered around the character of Wei Ruolai. This is Wang Yibo's character, a financial genius who is a junior employee in the Kuomintang's central bank from 1929 to 1934. He is mentored by a senior advisor, Shen Tunan, played by Wang Yang. And after several confusing incidents, Ruolai is hesitant about the path he should choose. So influenced by Shen Jingzhen, Li Qing's character, who is also Shen Tunan's younger sister, he gradually established communist beliefs and grows into a loyal financier who takes the lead in the Communist Party's financial front. So War of Faith or 追风者 comes immediately after Hidden Blade or Wuming, the movie starring Wang Yibo that came out around Chinese New Year earlier this year. And chronologically, Hidden Blade comes immediately after War of Faith. So War of Faith is in the first half of the 1930s and Hidden Blade is from around 1937 to 1942 at the outbreak of World War II. So on the surface, Hidden Blade and War of Faith look as if they have a lot in common. But Hidden Blade was filmed in a very dark film noir style, and even the method of storytelling was very mysterious. They're always making you guess and refusing to give you answers. So War of Faith is a lot more direct in its storytelling. It is very intentional and very clear. So in that sense, I think it makes it a lot more watchable for a general audience. And the many characters and intersecting plot lines were very well crafted so that you had a sense of a very realistic society where many different things happen at the same time. And all of them have something to do with the final outcome. So I was very invested in the individual stories and I really wanted to know how they would turn out. Now the scenarios kind of centered around the financial markets, for example, the counterfeit coins incident and the treasury bills incident. Now, I don't know if these are based on true historical incidents or whether they were created for the show, but I thought they were quite realistic and achieve their aims and really move the story along in quite an exciting manner. I mean, I never thought that a show centering around, stock markets and financial markets would be interesting to me, but it really was. So there weren't any noticeable big gaps in the storyline. Everyone has a background, everyone has a motivation, and it all makes sense. And even when there are little hints that something is up, but they kind of drop it, it usually will appear later in the series as something significant or as something reasonable, but I don't remember anything that was particularly ridiculous. For a drama of its kind, I thought that it did okay in trying to provide some balance. For example, the police guy Lin Qiaosong. Now he is 100% Kuomintang and he believes that his aim in life is to catch communists. So if you analyze his character, he actually started out as a good man with honorable intentions. Unfortunately, he gets carried away in his mission to the point where the original intentions are no longer met and he becomes very much a sort of a demon who takes all the wrong actions. The filming quality of War of Faith is just breathtaking. This is typical ITE excellent quality. Beautiful colors, beautiful sets. The locations are very historically accurate. The costumes are really nice, from everyone from the rickshaw pullers and the hawkers in the slums all the way to the richest in high society. Of course, there are times when it gets a little bit cheesy. For example, when Jing is selling the communist ideals to Ruolai, and they're in this like pastoral setting in the woods somewhere on a bridge, you know, two young, beautiful looking people with trees and birds and this swelling music soundtrack. But overall, I think they were quite restrained in not doing that too often, so it's still acceptable. I really appreciated all the cinematic shots of Yibo, of him looking young and innocent and sad and happy and beautiful, being beaten up or, you know, crying his eyes out. He is so beautiful. What more is there to say? So thank you very much to the director of this show. Now, apart from the story, it was the cast of actors and actresses who really brought this story to life. Everyone knew what they were supposed to do and they did it well. So this was definitely a professional cast of actors and not people parachuted in because they are traffic stars or idols or able to pull in the fans. We'll get to the Yibo part later. As I mentioned before, all the characters go through some sort of character development alongside the storyline. So this makes the drama very interesting because we care about them, even the horrible ones. Like, we want to know what happens to them. So let me just talk about the main stars. So there's Wang Yang, who plays Shen Tunan. I didn't know who he was before. I don't watch a lot of C-dramas. He was so superb. You know, he had gravitas and he was serious without being wooden, very natural. I mean, I completely believed in him in this role as the senior person in the central bank, and his face is so wonderfully expressive with all the nuances, and you can kind of see all the conflict that he goes through. So I was totally blown away by his performance. The female lead is Qing. I also didn't know who she was before, and this is the first time I've ever seen her in a drama. So I have a kind of a personal bias, or I'm very wary of Asian actresses and Asian female characters. I usually find them to be not very well written and the actresses to be very annoying. Maybe because I'm female and I expect more from female characters and actresses. So in the famous scene that's all over social media, where Jing Zhen is in the rickshaw and she pulls Ruolai in with her. Now in that scene, which is in episode 1, she gets all flirty with him and she talks in a little bit of a coy, you know, voice. And I thought, oh no, it's going to be one of those. And I'm just not going to be able to like her character. But that changed really quickly because that was a part she was playing as Jing Zhen. Jing Zhen herself is very mature. She's very intelligent. She has a great education. I mean, she's fantastic with weapons and armory and all this stuff. She's an engineer. She's very accomplished, but at the same time, she is very idealistic, but also naive and kind of willful and reckless. So her character has a lot of layers, and Li Qing really portrayed her so well. I liked her character so much. I was so invested in her story. So there's a huge cast of characters surrounding these 3 main characters, and I really can't mention all of them. There's just far too many, and all of them have very interesting stories. But I wanted to mention 2 that made a particular impression on me. So one of them is the actress Lan Xiya, who plays Niu Chun Meow. So she is Ruolai's childhood fiance. She comes from his hometown and she's really like a country bumpkin, and she adds a lot of comedic relief in the beginning because she is so different from, you know, all these polished city people in Shanghai. But she really goes beyond the caricature very fast and becomes quite a substantial part of the narrative. And I thought this actress really managed to capture the essence of, a country peasant girl moving to the city and being exposed to so many new things and how this kind of changes her trajectory. The other person I wanted to mention is also another actress who plays Ci Shu, who is Shen Tunan's wife. She's so elegant and beautiful, and she has this incredible quiet stoicism and strength. My only problem is I wish she had had a meatier role in the narrative. So finally, I will get to Wang Yibo. My boy did good. I was slightly surprised, but so relieved to be able to say that this was really good acting from Yibo. He was very natural, and he really embodied the character of Wei Ruolai. You can see him grow from this, young innocent boy living in the slums, but who has very high aspirations, to a very much more mature and experienced and wise person. I was a bit worried at first because Yibo's acting has been a little bit of an up and down, and there are a lot of Chinese dramas out there that star ex-idols who don't really act very well or don't really develop their acting skills, and it's a little bit of a disaster. Now, I am a fan of Yibo, so of course I believe in his abilities, but I wasn't sure how long it would take him to develop true acting chops. So some fans may not be very happy if they hear me say this because they thought that he was really fantastic in Hidden Blade, for example. And I agree, he was good in Hidden Blade. He's very fortunate that he is very hardworking, but he also has these opportunities to work with people like Tony Leung and Zhou Xun so that he can brush up his acting skills. But in Hidden Blade, I thought his performance was uneven. There are times where he was really very good, and then there are times where I kept seeing the Yibo-ness come out on screen. So Yibo, since he became super famous after The Untamed, has a public persona of being extremely quiet, and in some ways he withholds a lot from his fans. He's not the kind that goes out there and interacts and smiles and teases and that kind of thing. So that has been his persona, and I have no problem with that. But I do find that in Hidden Blade, I was wondering, at which point does Yibo stop and Secretary Ye take over? I think he was more successful in One and Only Relie, where he plays the young man whose dream is to become a breakdancer. And I think the acting there was really good, but also because the character is very similar to Yibo in real life. But in War of Faith, he really is Wei Ruolai. He is totally and 100% this character, and he seems to have let go of some of the inhibitions that maybe prevented him from really letting go and totally letting himself sink into a role. The styling for Wei Ruolai mirrored the character's progression. So he starts out pretty poor, living in the slum. So his jacket is made of material that is maybe a little bit rougher, and the suit is too big, as if it was not really made for him. And then as he becomes more successful, his dressing changes. But the director and Yibo both agreed that he wouldn't use any makeup in this show so that it would be more realistic. And I think that was really very effective, because Yibo is handsome, but without makeup he is not, idol handsome, but handsome enough without being too handsome. The sense of realism is so much better because when they show him crying or when they show him up close, sometimes you can see blemishes on his face. Yes, Horace Wang Yibo has blemishes on his face, but that made his character a lot more authentic. But if you're worried that, Yibo is not handsome enough in this show, just wait for the last scene. It's totally worth it. So at the start, I was a little bit worried about Wei Ruolai's character, because we know that he has an incredible brain, that he can string together a lot of pieces of information. But in episode 2 and 3, I think when he's trying to get a job in the central bank, which is his dream, he has to sit for this exam. So he passes the exam with full marks while sitting amidst thick smoke. So he outperforms all the other candidates and he finds a way out of the fire for them, and he saves an old woman in the in the process of getting out of this fire. He's very filial, everybody loves him. So I was a bit concerned that they were building up his character to be too good to be true. And there's one particular scene early in the show that is supposed to be very sad, but really made me question how they were developing the Wei Rolai character. So somebody dies and he needs to carry this body that is bigger than he is down a flight of rickety steps, get it into a rickshaw, pull the rickshaw to some remote, forest, dig a grave for an entire human body, bury the entire human body in the pouring rain, all in one evening. So it's like Wei Rolai, grave digger, Superman, I don't know. So at that point, I thought, oh, where is this going? So thankfully, they didn't dwell on that and moved on to show how what made Wei Rolai so valuable was his wit, his intelligence, his rational thinking, his ability to pull together a lot of information to come up with very good analyses and solutions. It's very hard not to love Wei Rolai, the character. Overall, I felt the characters were very layered and had a lot of depth to them. So while it wasn't mysterious like in Hidden Blade, they still gave you enough to talk about. Like if you were discussing it with a friend who was also watching it, there would be quite a number of things for you to discuss and you could have different opinions about it. So I think it's very obvious by now that I thought this was a really good drama, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't anything wrong with it. I mean, there were some situations where I think it was a little bit ridiculous. Like there's one scene where Jing Zhen is copying out her brother's diary because she needs information for the Communist Party, and she literally sits there and copies out his diary in Mandarin. I think this is kind of impossible to do when you've snuck into your brother's library and he can come back at any time, but well, there's also a character who is in a coma and then has brain surgery and I think has some of his fingers or toes dismembered, but when he wakes up he's really sprightly and can start running around. And right at the end, there was a scene that really made me laugh. So they're on a train and Ruolai is with Shen Tunan. Ruolai's communist friends have already jumped off the train to escape and he is to follow suit. But he and Shen Tunan stare at each other for the longest time before he jumps. In reality, if he had waited that long, he would be in a different county from his comrades. So on the whole, even though this drama was not perfect, the parts that were not perfect were not bad enough to ruin the show for me overall. I loved it. I thought it was incredibly entertaining, very watchable, and I definitely recommend that you watch it. I looked forward to it every night. And in fact, I have seen it twice all the way through already. So that ends my review of War of Faith starring my favorite Chinese actor, Wang Yibo. It was a great experience and I can't wait for his next movie or drama, whichever comes first. So thank you very much for listening to me. I hope you enjoyed this review. And until next time, take care and stay safe everyone. Bye!